Kevin Pietersen.
Yes.
Why has he always polarised opinion?
You love KP, don't you? You're like a big fan because you talked about him a lot when I talked to you for my book.
I don't know Kevin Pietersen.
I mean, as a cricketer.
As a cricketer.
No, the whole package you're talking about.
As a cricketer, again, I'm quite old. I've seen them all. And he's the best England cricketer that I've seen, the batter. He got me on the edge of the seat, you know, privileged position to broadcast on it. I don't know the guy at all. And so I've seen David Gower, Graham Gooch, Geoffrey Boycott, fantastic players, Ian Botham, Michael Vaughan, Joe Root. I mean, Graham Gooch was as brave as a lion. Geoffrey over my dead body. Joe Root's going to be one of the great players. But he got me on the edge of the seat. He could. How does he do that? But I don't know the guy. You might know him. I don't know him. I can say hello. How are you doing? Hello. That's about it.
But you must have been aware that he came into the England side.
Yes.
Not under a cloud, but there was some murmurings from Nottinghamshire and from the county scene about him. He rocks up. One of the most incredible things I've ever seen, actually, was the ODI series he played in South Africa.
Yes.
This guy is from South Africa.
Yeah.
He goes to South Africa.
Yeah.
He's basically rubbished South Africa and he's complained about the quota system. He's given his reasons for why he's had to leave South Africa to go to England. And he's got his tattoo with, the 3 lions. And he rocks up and he takes apart South Africa in front of one of the fiercest crowds I've ever seen at a cricket ground. And actually, he sways opinion back his way with one of the most brutal assaults on a cricket field that I've ever seen. He then comes into the England side, and it's not long before he starts ruffling feathers within the side. A few years later, it's all about, you don't know how tough it is to beat me. I want to give up white ball cricket. I want to prioritise IPL cricket. So there's a lot there, right? There's a lot to unpack. There's also dismissals, which on another day you'd say shouldn't be getting out, trying to reverse sweep at this stage of the game. So he's really confronting at every single element. And he's also dazzling. And he's incredible. And he is box office. And he polarises opinion. So why is that?
I think if you think about him as a player, and let's forget the personality for a minute. If you think about him as a player, he's an outsider, right? So there's that game at the Wacker where he's facing Nathan Lyon, and Nathan Lyon's trying to rest the fast bowlers. And any other England player facing Nathan Lyon in the Wacker is just like, great, let's keep him on as long as possible, nudge a couple to the leg side, we'll take some singles. KP's like, yeah, but if they take Lyon out of the attack, they're going to tire out the quick bowlers, we've got a chance of getting on top and actually, winning this game.
Basic. That's basic.
Yeah. So KP runs down the wicket and tries to hit Lyon over his head for 6, mishits it, gets caught at long on into the wind, right? That's not how England cricket looks at things, right? Graham Gooch and Marcus Trescothick, they're both attacking players. Ian Botham was attack. That's not really how English cricket thinks about attacking cricket, right? So you've got that. Then you've got the fact that he's an outlier in a couple of ways. One, he wasn't a batter all that much when he was younger. He was a spinner. So he sort of comes to batting late and does it in a way technically that is very different to everyone else. You've got the red ball runs, the nervousness when he starts his innings. Then he's a South African, and there are a lot of South Africans that you talk to that feel a little bit uncomfortable at times in English cricket because they feel like they're outsiders. KP's an outsider compared to other South Africans, right? Like, Graham Smith sledging him on the field, right? And all that sort of stuff. Graham Smith, would get into KP like nothing else. So you look at all the different things about him, and he's like an outsider in about 5 or 6 different ways. And he doesn't think about the world the way that anyone else in this room does right now, right? For better and worse. He doesn't read social situations very well, right? We've worked with him. I really enjoyed working with him at times, but sometimes he's just completely on a different plane. He's not even focusing on what you're saying because his brain is off in 7 different directions at a different time, which means that he misses social cues that normal people would pick up. On top of that, I remember this story about him when he was at Notts, when all the Notts Forest and is it Notts City? Is that the other team?
Notts County.
Notts Counties. I was close.
I love that.
You have to admit I was close there. all the footballers had their own, in a nightclub, had their own drink in a case, but none of the cricketers did, because that's not what cricketers did. They weren't as flashy as the footballers. KP was like, I want to put my big expensive bottle in a case and come in and drink from my expensive bottle when I come to this nightclub, right? He doesn't think about cricket the way that other cricketers think about stuff, right? He thinks about it more Premier League football, NBA basketball type level. That is grating on a lot of people. And as I said, he's got this personality that doesn't always fit into every different situation, but it makes him the sort of person who, when you're bouncing him, and Brett Lee's bouncing him at the Oval, he's not like, oh, I've got to wear this spell out. He's like, well, I'm going to whack him for 6. And if I whack him for 6 enough times, we might win this series. Most players don't think that way.
What I found fascinating, and that again is one of the great spells. I mean, that's a chapter in the history of Test cricket in itself, right? And what I found even more interesting about that situation was that he was absolutely, for want of a better word, it.
Yeah.
It wasn't that he was cold, ice cold, working out the algorithm, working out the situation and just going for it. He was just thinking, it's me or it's him.
We're just going to go. I mean, that's how it is from 22 yards. Talk about it's a team game, not at that situation. When he's 90 mile an hour, it's you and him. Forget your team games, it's you and him. Though. Absolutely. So he's worked that out. I mean, he was savvy. He's a savvy cricketer. We're talking more about the personality. And the one thing you didn't mention is sort of joust with Andrew Strauss, who would probably be the nicest bloke you. So he's telling South Africa, this is how you get him out. And he's actually played for the team. Wow. But he just said that he just said, they're my mates. They're my mates. Well,
I think one thing I would say is that England team did a lot of things right on the field. But we know a lot of people who've worked in that team, and you talk to the people in that team, it was a bit of a toxic environment. And KP needed probably stronger management than most people.
I'm going to say you've got to just manage that guy. Yeah. And you'd think you might just say, let's go and have a cup of tea. You're being a bit of a, just straighten it up a little bit. And to talk, in every environment that I've been in a changing room, the players themselves run that changing room. They run it. Your managers and your coaches are just incidentals, and your masseur and that, the physio. The players decide what culture they are. And so that needs not only a little bit stronger management just to, let's have a word, and it needs your senior player to say, hey, mate, just back off. But they are different. All your great players are a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, Boycott is
he's a mate. Now, you're talking about a mate, so go on.
No, but he's a ridiculous figure. You know Boycott very well.
I do.
Right? I've met him maybe 10 or 15 times in my life as well. He's not a normal person. Right? Steve Smith is not a normal person. Yeah. Right?
The game does attract.
Oh my God, how many? We'd have to cut the cameras off to tell all the Shane Warne stories, right?
That's it.
They are not normal people.
Shane Warne played a bit of cricket.
Yes.
Yeah, got on with life and played a bit of cricket. Quite incidental bit of his life that he happened to be very good at cricket, and you cannot tell all the Shane Warne stories. You just can't.
So I was talking to Jarrod Kimber recently about.
He's a nice bloke.
And Jarrod Kimber, for a great player, is way more normal than most people.
Yeah.
And he spent a lot of his career talking to these greats, trying to get that little bit. What Rahul's like? He's intense and he wants to get that little bit better and become that next level. And eventually he realised that Ricky Ponting was just Ricky Ponting, and he couldn't be Ricky Ponting. Yeah. He didn't grow up in Launceston with kids bouncing him, with adults bouncing him when he was 12 years old. He grew up in Bangalore on different kinds of wickets.
But there's Ricky Ponting, one of the great players, loves greyhounds.
Yeah.
Loves greyhounds, that's it. Talk to him about greyhounds, he'd talk forever. Brian Lara, talk about golf. Yeah. Just talk about golf with Brian. Don't talk cricket, talk golf. They're different.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.